The night began with laughter and a flicker of neon lights from the tiny kitchen window. Evan shuffled a worn deck of cards while the rain tapped against the glass. His alien roommate, Leary, sat cross-legged on the floor. She always liked to sit low, as if the carpet connected her to something deeper. Her skin shimmered like soft silver under the dull apartment lamp, and her bright eyes followed every move of his hands. Evan loved card games. Back on Earth, his dad had taught him to play late into the night when power cuts left their house dark. Cards were comfort to him, something normal, something human. Living with Leary often felt like a dream, half awake, half asleep. She came from a world of endless sky and twin moons, a world Evan could only imagine when she described it. But tonight it was just two roommates and a deck of cards, no galaxy between them. "You seem sure of yourself," Leary said. Her voice carried a quiet musical tone that always made Evan pause. "Are you certain you will win?" Evan smirked. "I've been playing this game since I was 6. You don't stand a chance." Her silver lips curved upward. "A challenge, then. I like that." She reached forward, slender fingers brushing the cards as though she could read their stories by touch alone. They played hand after hand. At first Evan won easily, and each victory filled him with the familiar rush of confidence. Leary watched closely, her eyes reflecting the lamp like two tiny moons. After the 4th round, she tilted her head as if listening to something far away. "You are predictable," she said softly. "Predictable? I'm winning. For now," she replied, and dealt the next hand with a grace that made the cards almost sing against the table. The tide turned quickly. She read his tells, how his eyebrows lifted when he had a strong hand, the way his fingers tapped when he bluffed. With each round, she grew faster, sharper. Evan felt his grin slip. She was learning in real time, adapting in a way that was almost frightening. By the 10th hand, he was sweating. "You've been practicing," he muttered. "I have been watching," she said, calm as a moonlit lake. When she finally laid down her final cards, the game was over. She had beaten him by a wide margin. Evan leaned back, hands over his face, and groaned. "I can't believe this. No one beats me at this game." "You offered the challenge," Leary reminded him. Her eyes sparkled with gentle mischief. "Now we speak of the wager." Evan froze. "Wager? I thought we were just playing for fun." She tilted her head again, a gesture that somehow made her look both curious and royal. "At the start you said if you win you can ask for anything, I remember." He rubbed the back of his neck. He had said that. It had felt harmless then, a casual boast. "Fine," he said with a dramatic sigh. "Name it, what do you want? I'll buy you dinner, clean the kitchen for a week, whatever." Her silver eyes softened and she leaned in just a little. "I want you to teach me something only humans know." The room seemed to tighten around him. "Like what?" "You choose. Something that shows what it means to be your kind." Evan thought about food recipes, music, maybe a history lesson, but Leary's gaze held him, steady and bright, as if she already had something in mind. After a pause that stretched like the silence before a storm, she spoke again. "I wish to learn how humans create life. Your reproductive system." Evan's mouth went dry. The rain outside suddenly sounded louder. "Wait, you what?" "I have studied your languages, your art, your machines," she said softly. "But the way you begin new life, is hidden in shadows and privacy. My people share such knowledge openly. I wish to understand." Evan felt heat rush to his face. "That's really personal," he stammered. "People don't just explain that to a roommate." Leary's expression remained calm, but there was a quiet determination in her eyes. "You promised," she said, not as a threat, but as a gentle reminder of trust. "And you said anything." He looked at her and saw no mockery, only honest curiosity. The embarrassment tangled with something else, an unexpected respect. She wasn't teasing. She truly wanted to know, to understand a part of humanity most people barely talked about. Evan swallowed hard. "I guess. We could start with science," he said finally, his voice unsure. Leary's silver lips curved into a soft smile. "Science is a good beginning." They sat in silence for a moment. The rain softened to a steady whisper. Evan felt his heart slow. He had lost a simple card game, but the night had changed. What had started as playful competition now carried a weight he couldn't quite name, something deeper than winning or losing. He gathered the cards and packed them away, his fingers trembling slightly. Leary watched him with patient eyes that seemed to hold entire starfields. Evan realized that teaching her wouldn't just be about biology. It would be about trust, about sharing a piece of what it meant to be human. When he finally met her gaze again, she nodded once, a silent agreement between them. The bet was lost, but a new story had begun, one that might reveal more about humanity than any game of cards ever could. Morning sunlight crept across the thin curtains, spilling a pale gold glow over the small apartment. Evan woke early but lay still, staring at the ceiling. The memory of last night's bet played again and again in his mind. He had promised to teach Leary the human reproductive system. He almost wished it had been a dream. He turned onto his side and groaned quietly. "How do I even start a lesson like that?" he thought. Explaining science was easy. Explaining something so private felt impossible. He imagined himself pointing at diagrams while his alien roommate listened with those bright silver eyes. The thought made his stomach twist with both nerves and an odd, unexpected excitement. From the kitchen came the soft sound of water running. Leary was already awake. Evan pulled on a sweatshirt and walked out, trying to appear casual. She stood near the window, a cup of steaming tea in her hand. Her skin caught the morning light like a sheet of moonlit metal. "Good morning," she said in her gentle, musical voice. "Morning," Evan replied, rubbing his eyes. "Sleep well?" "I do not sleep as you do," she said, smiling faintly. "But I rested, and I thought about our lesson." Evan's heart skipped. "Lesson, right." He cleared his throat. "Leary, you know this topic is kind of private for humans." "Yes," she said calmly. "That is why I wish to learn. You create life with mystery. Your kind hides the process behind closed doors and shy faces. I want to understand why." Her words carried no teasing, only curiosity. Evan felt the tension in his shoulders ease a little. She really wanted to know, not to embarrass him, but to understand something deep about humanity. He poured himself coffee, buying time. "Okay," he said at last. "If we're doing this, we should start with science. Anatomy, biology, facts, not feelings." Leary tilted her head thoughtfully. "Science first," she agreed. "Where do we begin?" They sat up at the small dining table. Evan dug out his old college biology textbook and a notebook. He felt awkward as he flipped through pages filled with labeled diagrams of cells, organs, and systems. His fingers paused over a page that showed the male and female reproductive organs. Heat climbed to his cheeks. "You are uncomfortable," Leary observed, watching him closely. "It's not you," he said quickly. This is just a topic people don't usually talk about in detail. In my culture, life-making is the most honored knowledge," she said softly. "We share it with songs and light. No one hides." Evan glanced at her and saw only calm patience. Something in him softened. "All right," he said. "Let's start with the basics. Humans begin with 2 cells, a sperm from the male, an egg from the female. When they meet, a new life can start." Leary leaned forward, silver eyes wide with interest. "Two become one," she murmured. "Simple and beautiful." As he spoke, describing chromosomes and DNA, the embarrassment began to fade. It felt less like an awkward talk and more like sharing a story of life itself. Leary asked sharp questions about how cells know to divide, how a tiny embryo knows to grow a heart. Her curiosity was endless. Evan found himself smiling despite the heat in his face. "You're a fast learner," he said. "My people merge light and thought to create new minds," she explained. "But we never build a body from 2 different beings. Your way is miraculous," he nodded slowly. "I guess it is." Hours passed. The coffee grew cold. Outside, clouds thickened and the city softened under a quiet gray sky. Inside, the small apartment felt like its own world. Evan drew diagrams of eggs meeting sperm, describing how life began in a single spark of combination. Leary listened with a kind of reverence that surprised him. She repeated each new word carefully, zygote, embryo, placenta, as if tasting them. When she mispronounced something, she laughed, and her laughter sounded like tiny chimes in the wind. Eventually, she looked up from the textbook. "Evan," she said gently, "why do humans hide such a wonder? Why is this knowledge locked behind red faces and silence?" The question lingered between them. Evan thought of his own childhood, of parents who turned the conversation away when he asked where babies came from. "Maybe because it's connected to love," he said slowly. "It's not just science. It's personal. People want it to feel special, private. It's about more than making a body, it's about feelings. Trust." Leary considered this, eyes half closed as if tasting the idea. Love, she repeated softly. That is a strong reason. Something in her voice made Evan's chest tighten. He realized he had almost forgotten that part of the lesson, the emotional truth behind the biology. Later, when the gray light outside turned to gentle rain, Leary stood and stretched. Her silver skin caught the dim light, making her look like a figure from another world. Yet she seemed entirely present, real and near. You have given me much to think about, she said. You taught me more than cells and names. You showed me the heart behind your science. Evan rubbed the back of his neck, embarrassed but also strangely proud. We've only just started. There's more, a lot more. I look forward to it, she said. Her bright eyes met his. Thank you for trusting me. The simple words warmed him. He hadn't expected this lesson to feel like a bridge between two worlds. He thought it would be awkward, maybe even funny. Instead, it felt important, like they were sharing something bigger than themselves. As the rain tapped the windows and night began to fall, Evan closed the textbook. Same time tomorrow? He asked. Leary smiled, a soft curve of silver lips. Yes, she said. Tomorrow we learn more. Evan watched her for a moment, noticing the quiet grace in the way she moved. He felt a strange spark of hope, though he couldn't say why. Maybe it was because, in that tiny apartment, an alien and a human were finding a way to understand not just life, but each other. A cool breeze drifted through the half-open window as evening settled over the city. Evan set 2 mugs of tea on the table, the warm steam curling into the air. He felt more relaxed than he had 2 nights ago, though a faint nervous energy still pulsed beneath his skin. Tonight they would continue the lesson, and this time he wanted it to feel natural, like a shared adventure, not a school lecture. Leary arrived from her room carrying a small notebook she had bought that morning. The cover glittered with tiny stars. I am ready, she said, eyes bright. I wish to write everything. Evan smiled despite himself. You look like a student before a big test. Knowledge is a treasure, she answered simply. I do not want to lose a single word. They sat at the table. Rain from the day before had left the air smelling clean. Evan opened the textbook and sketched a quick outline of the human body, starting with the organs they had discussed. Leary leaned closer, silver hair brushing the page, her attention sharp as a blade. Yesterday we talked about the meeting of egg and sperm, Evan said. Tonight we can talk about how life grows after that. Leary rested her chin on one graceful hand. How does something so small know to build a heart or eyes? Evan tapped the page with his pencil. Cells divide and follow instructions written in DNA. Each cell knows what to become, almost like they have a map. Like a song with many voices, she murmured. Each one joins to create a greater sound. He nodded. Exactly. It's like a symphony. As the lesson moved on, Leary asked question after question. How does the tiny life eat before it has a mouth? How does the mother's body know to make space? Her curiosity never slowed. Evan found himself explaining blood vessels, the placenta, and the miracle of a heartbeat that begins only weeks after conception. When he mentioned the first flutter of movement inside a mother's belly, Leary's silver eyes softened. Your species carries another life inside for so long, she whispered. It must be a bond beyond words. Evan paused, sensing the quiet wonder in her voice. Yeah, he said, it's incredible. For a moment they sat in silence, the only sound the tick of the wall clock. Evan felt a warmth in his chest he couldn't name, something like pride but also a quiet awe for the life he was describing. Soon, the seriousness gave way to lighter moments. Leary studied a diagram of a newborn and tilted her head. Why does the tiny human arrive with no hair except in odd places? Evan laughed. Some babies have a little hair, but yeah, it's random. It grows later. She pointed at another picture. And why do you keep this hair above your eyes? They're eyebrows, he said, grinning. They help keep sweat out of our eyes. Leary blinked, then laughed, a soft chime that filled the room. Your design is full of surprises. The laughter eased the tension that had hovered around them earlier. Evan realized he was enjoying himself, really enjoying the teaching, the shared jokes, the feeling of connection. It didn't feel awkward anymore. It felt like 2 friends exploring a mystery together. After an hour, Leary set down her pen. Evan, she said quietly, you speak of these things with both science and heart. Did you always care so deeply? He shrugged, suddenly shy. Honestly, I didn't think much about it before you asked. In school, it was just another chapter in a textbook. But explaining it to you, it reminds me how amazing it all is. Her eyes glowed like moonlit water. Perhaps that is the gift of questions. They awaken what is sleeping. Evan met her gaze and felt a strange spark of understanding pass between them. She was right. He had spent years buried in routine, forgetting the miracle in everyday life. Now, through her wonder, he felt it again. A little later, Leary closed her notebook and leaned back. You humans create life through both chance and choice, and she said. You join two beings, and yet each new life is unique. That is brave? Evan asked. Yes. You risk pain, even loss, to bring someone new into existence. My people form new minds by merging thoughts. There is no danger, no waiting, but you carry life inside, fragile and unknown, and still you choose it. Her words settled over him like a warm blanket. He had never thought of reproduction as courage, only biology. But hearing it from her made it feel profound. I guess we do, he said softly. Leary smiled, a gentle curve of silver lips. It is a beautiful courage. The clock showed midnight before they noticed. Outside, the city had grown quiet, the streets washed silver by the moon. Evan stretched, feeling the pleasant ache of long conversation. We covered a lot tonight, he said. Next time we can talk about how parents care for a baby after birth, feeding, teaching, everything that comes after. I would like that, Leary said. She stood, her silver skin reflecting the faint light. Thank you for your patience, Evan, he smiled. Thank you for making me see how amazing this all is. They stood in a comfortable silence. The distance between human and alien felt smaller than ever. Evan realized that these evenings were becoming more than lessons. They were moments of friendship and trust he hadn't known he needed. Leary gave a slight bow, a gesture of respect from her culture. Until tomorrow, she said softly. Tomorrow, he echoed. As she left for her room, Evan stayed at the table, staring at the open notebook. He felt a quiet glow inside, a mix of pride, wonder, and something harder to name. The simple card game that started this journey now felt like fate. In teaching Leary about human life, he was rediscovering the beauty of being human himself. Soft rain slid down the window pane like silver threads. Evening light painted the small apartment in shades of gray and blue. Evan brewed tea, letting the earthy scent calm his mind. 3 nights of lessons had made the once strange topic feel almost natural. Yet tonight he sensed something different in the air. Something slower, heavier. Like the pause before a question you are afraid to ask. Leary entered without a sound, her silver skin catching the last glow of daylight. She carried her starry notebook and a faint, thoughtful expression. Good evening, she said gently. Hey, Evan replied. Long day? She tilted her head. Long with thinking. She settled across from him at the table. I have been replaying our talks in my mind. Life forming from 2 cells. The growing heart. The bond between parent and child. It lingers like a melody I cannot forget. Evan poured tea for them both. It gets under your skin, doesn't it? The more you think about it, the bigger it feels. Yes, she said. Bigger than the stars. They opened the textbook again, but tonight Leary's questions drifted beyond science. She asked less about cells and more about feelings. What it was like for a mother to feel the first kick. How a father felt when hearing a baby's cry. Evan spoke slowly, sharing stories from his family. His sister's excitement when she first felt her child move. His mother's smile when she remembered carrying him. Leary listened with quiet reverence. Her silver eyes reflected the warm lamplight like small moons. After a while, she set down her pen. Evan, she said softly, my people do not create life this way. He looked up, curious. How do you... We merge thought and light, she explained. 2 minds join in a circle of energy. A new consciousness awakens fully formed. It grows in shared memory, not inside a body. There is no waiting, no heartbeat beneath our own. Evan imagined it, a child of pure mind arriving in an instant. That sounds incredible, he said. It is wondrous, she admitted. But sometimes I wonder what we have lost. We do not carry another heartbeat inside us. We do not feel the slow building of a tiny world beneath our skin. We do not wait in hope and fear. Her voice trembled ever so slightly, like a ripple across still water. Evan felt a pull in his chest. Do you wish you could? He asked gently. She looked toward the rain-dark window. I do not know. Perhaps I wish only to understand the courage it takes. You humans choose to nurture a fragile life even with pain and danger. That is beautiful and mysterious. Evan's throat tightened. He had never thought of human birth as a kind of bravery, but hearing her speak made the ordinary seem sacred. It's not always easy, he said quietly. Sometimes it's scary, but maybe that's what makes it matter. They sat in silence for a time, the rain's rhythm filling the room. Evan watched Leary's face, calm yet filled with something unspoken. He wondered what it meant for someone who could cross galaxies to long for something so human and simple. Finally, she turned back to him. Evan, when you speak of families, there is a light in your eyes. Do you wish for children? The question surprised him. He had never said the thought aloud. Someday, maybe, he said after a pause. I'd like to have a family when the time feels right. It's part of the dream, I guess. Leary nodded slowly. It is a brave dream. Her words warmed him more than the tea. They felt like a blessing from another world. As the evening deepened, their conversation wandered to love. How humans meet. How trust grows. How two people decide to share their lives. Evan spoke of his parents' small rituals. Morning coffee together, quiet walks in the park. Leary listened intently, her silver eyes bright. My people form bonds of mind, she said, but we do not know this slow dance of hearts. Perhaps that is why I study you. I want to feel the weight of time, the patience of love. Evan felt his chest tighten with something he could not name. It's not always perfect, he said, but when it works, it's worth everything. Yes, she whispered, worth everything. Later, the rain eased to a gentle drizzle. The apartment smelled of tea and quiet warmth. Leary closed her notebook but did not rise. Instead, she reached across the table, her slender silver fingers brushing the back of Evan's hand. Her touch was cool yet alive. Thank you for sharing these truths, she said. You have given me more than lessons. You have given me a piece of your world. Evan's pulse quickened. He placed his hand over hers, surprised at how natural it felt. And you've reminded me why my world is special, he said. I forget sometimes. You help me remember. They sat like that for a long moment, hands lightly joined, the rain a quiet heartbeat around them. No words were needed. The distance between their two worlds felt smaller than the space between their palms. When the clock finally chimed midnight, Leary rose. Her eyes shimmered in the dim light. Tonight I have learned the most important lesson, she said softly. What's that? That life, whether of flesh or light, is a miracle because someone chooses to nurture it. That is humanity's great strength. Evan felt a deep warmth spread through him, a mixture of pride and humility. I'm glad you see it that way. She gave a small bow, a gesture of respect from her people. Good night, Evan. Good night, Leary. As she slipped into the quiet hallway, Evan remained at the table staring at the rain-streaked window. He realized that this was more than a science lesson. Through her eyes, he was rediscovering the quiet truth of his own species, the courage to create life, to love, to hope, even in a universe full of endless stars. The next evening arrived with a pale orange sunset. Light spilled across the small apartment, soft and warm, as if the sky itself wanted to listen. Evan brewed tea again, the now familiar ritual calming his nerves. Each lesson with Leary had grown deeper, and tonight he felt a quiet anticipation he couldn't explain. Leary entered from the hallway, carrying her starry notebook close to her chest. The colors outside are beautiful, she said, glancing at the glowing horizon. They look like a slow fire, Evan smiled. It's one of my favorite things about Earth. Every sunset is different, but it always feels like a promise. She tilted her head. A promise of what? Of tomorrow, he answered simply. Leary seemed to consider this, her silver eyes soft in the fading light. A beautiful idea, she said, taking her seat at the table. They began with a review of their last lesson, how a baby grows, how a heartbeat forms, how parents wait in hope and fear. But tonight Leary's questions carried a different weight. You told me about love, she said quietly. I want to understand how humans keep it alive. How do they stay together through pain? Evan leaned back, thinking of his parents, his grandparents, friends who had faced storms together. It's not easy, he said. Love is a choice you keep making even when it's hard. You listen. You forgive. You hold on. Even when it hurts? She asked. Especially then, he replied. Leary wrote carefully, her hand steady. Your species builds life from courage, she murmured, and builds love from endurance. Both are powerful. As the lesson moved on, Evan noticed the way the soft orange light wrapped around Leary's silver skin. She seemed almost part of the sunset, a bridge between worlds. He felt a warmth that had nothing to do with the tea. They spoke of family traditions, birthdays, lullabies, small rituals that made a home. Evan told stories of his childhood. His mother singing while cooking, his father fixing old radios late into the night. Leary listened like someone hearing music for the first time. My people share memories directly, she said. We can feel each other's past. But we do not build them slowly as you do. We do not create a home moment by moment. Perhaps that is why I envy you. Her words touched something deep in him. I never thought about it like that, Evan said. I guess our lives are built from small things. Small things that last, she whispered. A gentle silence filled the room. The clock ticked, steady as a heartbeat. Evan found himself watching her more than the textbook. Her curiosity, her quiet strength, it all drew him closer. Evan, Leary said suddenly, her voice soft but firm, why did you agree to this lesson? You could have refused. He thought for a moment. At first it was just a lost bet, he admitted. But then, I realized I wanted to share it with you. Not just the science. The meaning. It's important and you cared enough to ask. Her silver eyes met his. You trusted me with something sacred, she said. That trust builds a bridge between us. He felt a warmth spread through his chest. Yeah, he said quietly. It does. The conversation turned toward the future. What might come after the lessons were done. Leary asked what dreams humans chased, what hopes they carried beyond survival. Evan spoke of exploring the stars, of art and music, of children who might build something better than the world before them. You dream even when the universe is vast and dangerous, she said with quiet awe. You hope even when you fear. That's what keeps us moving, Evan replied. Hope. For a long moment they sat without speaking. Outside, the sunset faded to deep blue. The first stars blinked through the night sky like tiny lanterns. Leary closed her notebook and set it aside. Evan, she said, these lessons have shown me more than I expected. You have given me the heartbeat of your people. He felt his chest tighten at her words. And you've shown me something too, he said. You've reminded me how amazing it all is. Life, love, the chance to keep going. She reached across the table, her cool silver fingers brushing his hand. In my world we share thoughts. But this, her voice softened. This sharing is different. It is slower, but it feels alive. Evan turned his hand to hold hers. Yeah, he said. It feels alive. The simple touch carried more meaning than 100 words. It wasn't romantic or rushed. It was a quiet understanding, a bridge built by trust. They sat like that while the night deepened. The room smelled of tea and soft rain from the street below. Evan realized that the walls he kept around his heart were thinning. He wasn't just teaching science anymore. He was letting someone from another world see what it truly meant to be human. Finally, Leary spoke again, her voice barely above a whisper. Your kind chooses to create, to love, to hope, even when you could choose only survival. That is the strength I will carry with me when I travel the stars. Evan swallowed the sudden lump in his throat. I'm glad you came here, he said. I'm glad we met. She smiled, a slow, luminous curve of silver lips. So am I. When midnight came, they finally rose from the table. The stars outside shone like a million small promises. Evan walked her to the hallway, the quiet between them comfortable and full. Tomorrow we continue? She asked. Tomorrow, he agreed. As she disappeared into the soft shadows, Evan stood for a while, looking out at the endless night. He realized the lessons were no longer about biology. They were about trust, courage, and the simple, unstoppable force of hope, the human gift he had nearly forgotten. And for the first time in years, he felt truly proud to be human. Night settled over the city like a soft blanket. A thin crescent moon glowed between drifting clouds, washing the apartment in silver light. Evan waited at the small table, a pot of tea steaming quietly beside 2 empty cups. Their lessons had stretched across many evenings, each one peeling back another layer of curiosity and trust. Tonight felt different. The air carried a quiet charge, as if something important was about to be spoken. The door to Leary's room opened with a whisper. She stepped out, her skin catching the moonlight until she looked almost made of it. The starry notebook rested in her hands, worn now from many nights of notes and questions. "Good evening, Evan," she said softly. "Hey," he answered, offering a small smile. "I made tea." They settled into their usual seats. Outside, the city hummed with distant traffic, a low rhythm beneath the silence between them. Evan poured the tea and waited for her first question. But tonight, Leary did not open the notebook. She simply looked at him, eyes bright and serious. "I have listened," she began, "to every word about your way of creating life. I have studied your science and your customs. But something still hides between the lines. Something I need to feel, not just understand." Evan's heartbeat quickened. "What do you mean?" She folded her hands. "You speak of love and hope, of families who risk everything for a child. You describe pain and joy woven together. But tell me, Evan, why do humans keep choosing it? Even when life is fragile, even when the world is harsh, why keep bringing new hearts into it?" The question hung in the room like a distant bell. Evan stared into his cup, steam curling upward. He thought of his parents, who had struggled through years of hard work. He thought of his sister, who had lost a baby and still tried again. He thought of the quiet courage of people he barely knew. "I guess," he said slowly, "because we believe tomorrow can be better. Even if today is hard, we want to give someone else a chance to see the sun, to laugh, to love. It's hope. Hope makes us try again." Leary's eyes softened. "Hope," she repeated as if tasting the word. A fragile thing, yet stronger than metal. They spoke for a long time about hope, how it pushed explorers into space, how it kept families together, how it lit small fires in the darkest nights. Evan shared memories of his childhood, of times when his family had almost given up but didn't. Leary listened like a quiet ocean, absorbing every word. At last she whispered, "Your species carries a courage beyond science. You do not only create life, you protect the dream of what life can become." Evan felt a warmth spread through him deeper than pride. "Maybe that's what it means to be human," he said. "To keep dreaming no matter how many times the world tries to break you." Leary reached across the table and placed her cool silver hand over his. "You have shown me this dream," she said. "You have shown me humanity." The touch was gentle, but it carried a weight that surprised him. He turned his hand to meet hers. They sat in silence, the sound of their breathing mixing with the faint hum of the city. Evan felt a quiet connection that words could not reach, as if their two worlds met in that single point of contact. After a while, Leary spoke again. "In my travels I have seen many civilizations," she said. "Some build machines beyond imagination, some command energy like stars, but few would risk their hearts as humans do. You love with no guarantee. You create life knowing it may suffer, yet you believe in joy. That is your greatest strength." Her words struck something deep inside him. He had always thought of humanity as messy, flawed, even reckless. Hearing her speak turned those flaws into a kind of beauty. They continued the lesson, but the textbook remained closed. Instead, they shared quiet stories. Evan described a neighbor who painted murals on cracked walls, bringing color to broken streets. Leary told of distant planets where crystal winds sang across endless plains. Each story felt like a gift passed across an invisible bridge. When the moon climbed higher, Leary asked, "Do you think humans will travel the stars and meet my people one day?" "Maybe," Evan said with a small smile. "But even if we don't, we'll keep trying. That's who we are." She tilted her head, a gesture he had grown to love. "I believe you will. Your hope is a force stronger than distance." A comfortable silence followed. The city outside seemed to fade until only the quiet between them remained. Evan felt a peaceful weight in his chest, an understanding that their evenings together had become more than lessons. They were proof that two beings from worlds apart could share something timeless. Finally, Leary closed her notebook and stood. "Evan," she said softly, "you have given me more than knowledge. You have given me a reason to believe that hearts, no matter their origin, can meet in understanding." He rose too, heart beating steady and strong. "You've given me something too," he said. "You've reminded me why hope matters, why being human matters." Her silver eyes shone in the moonlight. "Then we have both learned." They stood for a moment in the quiet room, hands still lightly joined. The air felt charged, alive with the weight of everything unsaid. Finally, Leary stepped back, a gentle smile on her lips. "Tomorrow we finish the lesson," she said. Evan nodded. Tomorrow. She lingered a heartbeat longer, then turned toward her room. As the door closed, Evan remained by the window, looking at the pale moon above the rooftops. He felt a new strength inside him, a recognition of what humanity could be when seen through another's eyes. It was more than survival. It was more than science. It was the simple, stubborn choice to hope. Morning sunlight spilled through the curtains, painting soft gold across the small apartment. Evan woke early, heart quick with a feeling he could not name. Today would be their final lesson. He brewed tea as always, the familiar scent filling the quiet room. Each step, the sound of the kettle, the gentle clink of cups, felt heavy with meaning. When Leary entered, she carried her worn notebook close to her chest. The silver of her skin shimmered in the morning light, like moonlight trapped inside a human shape. She smiled, small and calm. "Good morning, Evan." "Morning," he replied, his voice warm but a little unsure. "Ready for the last chapter?" "Yes," she said. "But I believe today is more than a chapter. It is a farewell." They began with a slow review. Evan spoke of the final stages of pregnancy, the first cries of a newborn, the first fragile breath. He explained how families hold a baby for the first time, how every parent watches a tiny chest rise and fall, knowing a whole universe now lives in that small body. Leary listened with deep stillness, her silver eyes catching every detail. "It is not only science," she said softly. "It is a miracle of courage," Evan nodded. "That's exactly what it feels like. A miracle we build with our own hearts." She placed her notebook on the table and traced a finger along its edges. "You have given me more than knowledge," she said. "You have shown me the heart of your people." Silence followed, gentle and full. The hum of the city drifted in through the window. A child's laughter, a distant train, the steady rhythm of life itself. Evan cleared his throat. "You taught me something too," he said. "You reminded me that what we have is precious. I'd been forgetting that. Forgetting to be proud of being human." Leary tilted her head, that familiar gesture he had come to love. "And now," he said, a small smile rising, "I remember. I'm proud and grateful." Her silver eyes softened. "Then our time together has already succeeded." They shared stories again, his childhood adventures, her journeys across silent galaxies. Each word felt like a thread weaving their worlds together. Finally, Leary spoke, her voice quiet but certain. "I must leave soon. My mission calls me to another star, but the lessons we shared will travel with me." Evan felt the truth settle in his chest like a weight and a light at the same time. "I knew this day would come," he said. "But I'll miss you." "I will miss you too," she replied. "You have become part of my journey, Evan. More than I expected." She rose and stepped to the window, looking at the bright sky. "Your world is beautiful," she said. "Not because of mountains or seas, but because of hearts that keep hoping." Evan joined her. "It's not perfect," he admitted. "But we keep trying. That's what matters." Leary turned to face him, her silver skin catching the sunlight until she seemed made of starlight. "I believe your people will reach the stars," she said. "Not because of ships or engines, but because of this." She touched a gentle hand to his chest, where his heart beat steady, because of hope. The touch was light, yet it carried a deep warmth that spread through him. They stood there for a long moment, silent, listening to the heartbeat of the world around them. Finally, Leary stepped back. "May I give you something?" she asked. "Of course." She reached into her pocket and drew out a small crystal sphere that glowed faintly, like a captured star. "This is a memory stone," she explained. "When you hold it, you will feel a trace of my world, a sky of silver and oceans of quiet light. It will remind you that our connection is real, even across space." Evan accepted it carefully, the sphere cool and smooth in his palm. "Thank you," he said, voice low. "I don't know how to say how much this means. Just remember," she said, "and that is enough." The afternoon sun climbed higher. Their tea had long grown cold. Leary finally closed her notebook for the last time. "The lesson is complete," she said. "I understand how humans create life, but more important, I understand why." "Why?" he asked softly. "Because you believe," she answered. "Because you love. Because even when the universe is vast and cold, you choose warmth. That is what it means to be human." Evan felt a lump in his throat. "I hope we meet again." "Hope," she said with a small, luminous smile. is something I carry now because of you. When evening came, a gentle breeze stirred the curtains. Leary stood at the door, a small travel case by her side. "Goodbye, Evan," she said. "May your days be filled with the promises of your sunsets." He stepped closer, heart heavy and